Hi guys! I just wanted to go over the dice mechanics for this game with you. They're a little bit novel and so it's not as intuitive as some of the other games, but it actually is a lot more narrative and I really like the system. It has a lot less math. So that makes it really handy and it's a lot more fluid when it comes to gameplay. So, they have two distinct different types, categories of dice, but they all balance each other out. And so it's all about what counters the other part out and how your upgrading works. So, these ones right here are the positive dice, and then these guys over here are the negative dice. And so you as a player will be rolling the positive dice, and the negative dice are the things that are trying to counteract it. Whether that's an opponent or the natural factors in the environment, it's whatever kind of check you're rolling against. But the positive dice, the blue dice or the boost dice can actually be gained by talents and things like that. And the green and the yellow dice, we touched base on how those are upgraded within the skills and the characteristics when you go to a roll. It's kind of the same thing with the negative dice too. The setback dice, they can be things that are challenging in the environment or other factors that may just add a setback. Like for example, if it's really windy and you're trying to land your spaceship, it might be a setback die just because you can't land because it's windy. So those extra little factors in there, and I'll give that to you as you go along the gameplay goes. And then there's also the threat dice, and so these guys work together with the red dice, and it is pretty much the same as the equivalent of the green and the yellow die. So those guys will balance each other out. And you probably won't see a lot of the red to begin our journey, but as we get farther in, definitely. So it is kind of one of those things. Just kind of keep in mind that they're there, and they can definitely be a lot more challenging because you really do not want to get a despair. Because the same as a triumph, but just negative. So we don't want that to happen. So those guys are the main categories of the dice. And there's also one more. It's the force dice. So the dark side and the light side. And this will help add to our destiny pool, and it will also help unlock certain talents and force talents throughout the game. So you may need to spend some of these, but you can also spend them as any character at all throughout the game to upgrade things. Let's talk about the signs that actually cancel each other out. So the first one we'll look at are the advantages. So these little guys, and you can be 2 or 1. Yeah, there. Those guys, the advantages, are just good things that happen. They won't actually help you win and succeed in a check. For those, you actually need successes. Other than that, you won't be able to get those checks to go through. And you'll fail, but you get a whole bunch of good benefits. The least you can do with an advantage is, sprint it to recover some strain. But the successes are what are critical, and they can get canceled out by the failures, just as the advantages can get canceled out by these guys, the disadvantages. So, there's also triumphs, and these guys are they're a success, plus also rolling a nat 20. So, you get a lot of good features, and there's actual charts that go over how you can spend all these, and those are linked up, and just look in the folder right here, in the drive folder, and they'll be right there for you. So you can check and see exactly what you can spend those on. I'm not going to go too into it in detail, but they are really handy, and it can really help the gameplay. But I can also spend the little despair points too in the same way. So that's how they balance out. Okay, so let's put this into use. And let's say that you're trying to sneak by somebody. So let's see. What's the sneak skill? Over here, our stealth has 1 and it uses agility. So we'll go up here to agility and 3. So there are 3. And because we're using 1 stealth and that gets upgraded, we'll use one of the proficiency dice. So that's our roll to sneak by somebody. Now I'm going to give you the roll for the other factors you need to roll with your dice to cancel each other out. So I'll say just do 2 purple die. So you want to roll those too. So that's your dice pool. And let's say because of one of your abilities, you have a boost die. I could give a setback die if there wasn't anything to hide around. It was just an open field. It was right in the middle of the day. I could give a setback die or something like that, but we won't do it for this check. We'll just roll with your skills plus what I've told you to roll and then also the boost die for your skill. And let's see. So we have some advantages and we have some disadvantages. So it looks like you succeed because you have 3 successes right here. And then you also have 2 advantages, and those will cancel out these 2 threats. So it looks like you have 3 successes and everything else cancels out. So that's great. That's really, really good. That means you definitely succeed and you get by with flying colors. You don't have any advantages, so you can't recover any strain or anything like that, but you worked hard. It did well for you. This one came out blank. If it would have come out like this, failures, then you could have actually canceled out these 2. So that's how those 2 would cancel out. But it just so happened that this roll didn't. So congrats on your 3 successes. Another way to upgrade things and kind of have a good chance of succeeding in the game is to use your destiny points. And these are the ones we roll at the beginning of every session. So you would roll this little funky die right here. And I would, for that roll, at the beginning of a session, add 1 dark side point. And so that's something that the GM can use and actually like upgrade your difficulty or downgrade it in other ways. But if you had rolled a light side point, that's something that you could use. So the different ways it's used, those are gone through thoroughly in the slides. But as an overview, you can use it to upgrade a single check. So say for instance, you were just rolling 2 of these and you wanted to do a little bit better because you needed to sneak into the temple or something, you could actually upgrade your points with it. You can also upgrade the difficulty of a check for an NPC. So say that somebody's trying to see if they see you sneak your way into the temple, you can actually upgrade their check difficulty so that it makes it harder for them to see and more likely for you to pass. You can use them to activate some certain special abilities and talents, and those are laid out especially like the Force talents, which we'll get into later. And you can use it too for just being kind of lucky for things you've forgotten. Say for example, the most common example is you land on a planet where the atmosphere is uninhabitable. You can't breathe it. But yay, you brought those respirator masks, right? Those are checked in the back corner of the little spaceship. So things like that where you didn't know you would need it, but you definitely need it and it's going to have a whole party effect. I'll definitely honor those uses of the destiny points. The thing is when you spend a destiny point, it'll automatically convert into the opposite. So the force is balanced, so a light side point will go to a dark side point, and the dark side point will go to a light side point, and vice versa. So because of that balancing factor, it does give a lot of back and forth in the game, and you can use those as much as you'd like. Those are part of using the force and, living in a Star Wars world in a galaxy far, far away. So those are the basic dice mechanics. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. We can definitely walk through some examples and deal with little certain things if it doesn't make sense. But I hope the next video that I do, where we kind of start at the beginning of the session and kind of go through a little bit more on how the actual checks are used and the different checks that you can use to progress through the game, will help explain things and tie things together a bit more. But definitely check it out. And let me know if I can help in any way. And feel free to read through all of the resources, all the fun stuff. I've had a lot of fun compiling it for everybody, so let me know.